The House of Kuru, Part 2, Chapter 21, Cloak and Dagger, Plot to Kill the Pandavas. The next morning, the king was full of confusion. He had no idea on what to do. On the one hand, he had promised the Lion Throne to Yudhishtira, but on the other, he wanted his own son to ascend the Lion Throne. Shakuni ensured that confusion and enmity was rife between Suyodhana and the Pandavas. Every day, Shakuni would tell the son of Dhritarashtra that the throne belonged to him, and that he is making every possible chance to ensure he takes it. Time, however, does not wait for everyone, let alone the emperor of Hastinapura. Nearly 4 months had passed since the declaration of Yudhishtira as the scion of Hastinapura had taken place. Suyodhana was not a person blessed with patience. "You've been telling me, Uncle Shakuni, that the throne is mine, my lineage, my property. But surely you have noticed that I have not ascended it. What is keeping you?" hissed Suyodhana after a particularly long day of mace training under Balarama, where Bhima cracked one of his ribs and broke his nose. Sporting a painful, bleeding nose and clutching his left chest, he snapped at his uncle as the royal physicians were tending to his wounds. "Your Majesty," said Shakuni, knowing perfectly well that those specific words create a sense of urgency in Suyodhana. "I have tried and tried, but it looks like your father dearly loves the Pandavas. There is not much I can do, I'm afraid," said Shakuni as rage began building in Suyodhana's chest. He whined, "My father? I knew it. The old fool pretends to love someone while secretly loving another. I will do nothing now," interrupted Shakuni as his eyeballs pointed to the physician tending Suyodhana. Suyodhana clapped loudly and they left. After they left, Shakuni limped into the entrance of Suyodhana's bedchamber, and once he was convinced that no one was around, he called for Sushasana, who was waiting by the bedside of his elder brother, to close the doors and lock them. "I have," Suyodhana organized with great pain, "a method of permanently getting rid of the Pandavas," said Shakuni, as Suyodhana's face lit up with delight. Sushasana too looked on with hope. Shakuni then sent a pigeon out. "This evening a man called Purochana will arrive at your bedchambers, and I will explain everything. But none of this will go to plan if your father blocks it. We must convince him first," said Shakuni. Both Suyodhana and Sushasana nodded in agreement. That evening, a tall, plump man with graying handlebar mustache appeared at the door of Suyodhana's bedchambers. Come, Purochana. Welcome to the humble chamber of Suyodhana." The crown prince of Hastinapura welcomed Shakuni as Purochana bowed low and Suyodhana embraced him. Karna and Sushasana nodded towards him. "Tell me, Purochana, is the construction complete? Has the palace been built for our royal guests?" asked Shakuni as a wicked smile emerged on Purochana's face, and he nodded. "Your Majesty, an exquisite palace has been built for the sons of Pandu, complete with all the luxuries for an emperor," said Purochana. "I didn't know you were building palaces for the Pandavas, Shakuni. Isn't one palace enough?" asked Suyodhana, as he turned towards his uncle to only see him sporting the same wicked smile as Purochana. "My dear nephew, this is a very unique palace. It is built with nothing but thick wax. Walls are painted with clarified butter, resin, and oil, stuffed with dry hay and shallock," said Shakuni. "So, you build a wax palace for my enemy while forgetting your own kith and kin?" asked Suyodhana, as a ripple of fury began building in him. "My child, when will I ever favor those wretched children of Pandu over you? You are my golden fawn, my shining lotus, my own blood. Listen to the plot before deciding," said Shakuni, as Suyodhana's anger ebbed away. The wax palace is an intricate palace with lots of rooms and a labyrinth of walkways. Purochana is my personal architect for this palace. He will keep the sons of Pandu in this palace, and one night, when they least suspect it, Purochana will set the palace alight. Trapped in a palace with a labyrinth of walkways, they will burn to death, said Shakuni as Purochana nodded. Suyodhana was now grinning ear to ear. Mama, truly you are wonderful, said Suyodhana, and Sushasana skipped in joy. The death of Bhima. It's like the festival of lights. Diwali has come early, said Sushasana, as they celebrated, and Purochana also joined in. And Shakuni had to place an index finger on his closed lips and sternly stare at the trio. Suyodhana and Sushasana stopped the celebration immediately. Diwali will only come once we are certain of the death of the wretched souls who usurped the throne of your brother Suyodhana, and not sooner, reprimanded Shakuni to Sushasana as Suyodhana nodded. Hold on! Slay the warrior sons of Pandu through deceit? I would rather we slaughter them in battle. Give me command, Suyodhana. I will leave this instant, said Karna as Shakuni cut him off. Death on the battlefield is reserved for heroes, not for migrants and refugees. Politics are best left to experienced kings and princes, Karna, not charioteers, said Shakuni. And Karna mumbled something under his breath and left the room. This is where things get difficult. Your father, the king of the empire, does not let me finish this task. Purochana has already completed the palace a week ago, and now your father wants to keep the sons of Pandu alive. Do you know how much difficulty I had in building this palace? Do you know how suspicious it was carrying large blocks of wax to build this palace? Your father is stopping my plan from execution, said Shakuni, and that famous rage of Suyodhana began curdling in his chest again. That blind man will be the end of our lineage. He will bring doom to the noble House of Kuru, roared Suyodhana, as Sushasana nodded in agreement. Shh, whispered Shakuni once more with his index finger on his closed lips. What we are planning is high treason. The death of the scion of this empire, whispered Shakuni. Keep your mouth shut, commanded the prince of Gandhara as Suyodhana nodded, and so did Purochana. I will convince the king, but you will need to come with me. Let us meet him tonight, said Shakuni. Yudhishtira, a keen and able spy, had been following and keeping a clear tab on the movements of Shakuni, and as soon as a stranger with a funny-shaped moustache had entered the chambers of Suyodhana, he too had followed. He heard the whole plot and had his mouth wide open with a gasp. He fled as quickly as his legs would carry him to the apartments of the chief minister Vidura. The mongrel sons of Dhritarashtra are planning a regicide. Shakuni has built a large wax palace, drenched in ghee and clarified butter, one with a complex labyrinth of rooms and walkways. They are planning on burning the sons of Pandu inside them, whispered Yudhishtira, and now Vidura's eyes opened wide. What should we do? Should I warn the king? Throw those vile miscreants into the dungeons? Asked Yudhishtira. Absolutely not. The king despises the Pandavas. He only looks like he favors them, but in his heart he favors only his own son, but wishes the death of the sons of Pandu. This must remain our secret, Yudhishtira, warned Vidura. Do not tell anyone this, instructed the chief minister of Hastinapura, and Yudhishtira reluctantly agreed. That evening, Shakuni, Suyodhana and Sushasana approached the king Dhritarashtra. Your Majesty, have you decided on the coronation date of the Prince Yudhishtira? Asked Shakuni as Dhritarashtra winced. No, Shakuni, I thought you promised my son the kingdom. Now you want the son of my brother to ascend the lion throne? Asked Dhritarashtra. Shakuni smiled and said, Your Majesty, I love your son dearly, and I want him to ascend the lion throne just as much as you do. But your love towards the sons of Pandu, love? Pandu's children? No, I want my son to ascend the lion throne, roared Dhritarashtra. Well, you insist on not letting my plan go to fruition, so there is only one conclusion I can come to, said Shakuni. You wish to murder them. I only wish for my son to ascend the lion throne, said Dhritarashtra. Father, have you not learned anything from Kanika? Roared the firstborn son of Dhritarashtra. You wish for our nemesis to remain alive while Shakuni has painstakingly constructed a perfect way of annihilating them. You are the very reason this House of Kuru will burn, insulted Suyodhana, as Dhritarashtra laid his head low. My son, I do not wish for the death of my brother's children, that's all, stammered Dhritarashtra. Suyodhana flung into a rage, as his own father, the Emperor of Hastinapura, started to tremble. You wish to have a clean-shaven face while also desiring a beard, your majesty, said Shakuni, and now Suyodhana's face showed tremendous anger. He was pink in the face. Father, now is your chance. Listen to Shakuni Mama's idea, roared Suyodhana, and Dhritarashtra began to tremble slightly. Suyodhana, calm yourself. You are speaking with the Emperor of Hastinapura. He is the father of all beings in the kingdom, not just yours, said Shakuni, pretending to reprimand Suyodhana while giving confidence to Dhritarashtra. If he feels that the sons of Pandu are best placed to ascend the lion throne, then that is his decision, continued Shakuni. Shakuni, you know I want my son Suyodhana to ascend the lion throne, roared Dhritarashtra as Shakuni smiled. I just cannot bring myself to commit murder of Pandu's children. A son is a reflection of the father. The sons of Pandu are verily Pandu himself, my brother, insisted Dhritarashtra. I understand, your majesty. We must never resort to death. Let us instead take some time away from the Pandavas. Send the Pandavas to a place called Varnavata. I have built them an exquisite palace. During this time that they are away, Suyodhana will win the people with gifts and lavish upon them comforts, so that when they are back, the people will want Suyodhana to ascend the throne, said Shakuni, to which Dhritarashtra was far more welcoming. Just send them away, he asked. Yes, your majesty. Leave everything to me. I will arrange for the sons of Pandu to live in a luxurious palace in the city of Varanavata, said Shakuni, as Dhritarashtra began to nod, much to the excitement of both Shakuni and Shusasana and Suyodhana. Shakuni leaned forward and placed an arm around Dhritarashtra's shoulder. Tomorrow, just before the throne proceedings are complete, a man named Purochana will invite you, your majesty, to the city of Varanavata, in the name of representing the opening of a new temple for the god of war, Lord Shiva. And you will request the Pandavas to go on your behalf and represent the kingdom. Then leave the rest to me, said Shakuni. You are certain no harm will befall them, Shakuni? Asked Dhritarashtra. My lord, they are grown men. In fact, one of the most potent and powerful men in the entire kingdom. What can a lame, limp minister like me, or anyone else for that matter, do to them? Asked Shakuni rhetorically. And Dhritarashtra nodded. Very well, I will do as you say, said the Emperor of Hastinapura, and Suyodhana was grinning ear to ear as Shakuni rubbed his palms in anticipation of victory. What a vile, evil person this Shakuni is. Tell me, dear Guru, what happens to the Pandavas? Do they get burned alive? Do they survive? Do they escape the clutches of death? Asked Janamejaya. Those who are ever virtuous will always be protected by the great god Mahavishnu, dear student. And the sons of Pandu were always established in virtue. He who protects virtue will be protected by virtue, my student, said the Rajaguru Vaishampayana.